Thank you for taking your time out of your day to join our program today. I'm Paul Ballman. I'm honored to serve as the Rotary Club of Tulsa president this year. I hope everyone's doing well with the winter blast we've had and the snow that we've experienced over the last several days. At my home, we did lose power for a couple of hours, but as promised by PSO notification phone call, it came back on. It has been some of the coldest temperatures I can remember living through, but I'm excited about the warmer weather that's just around the corner. And as our music talked about a few minutes ago before the meeting, here comes the sun, and it looks like it's actually peaking out right now. This weekend, we may actually break above the freezing temperatures, and this time next week, I even saw we'll be in the mid-50s, which is great news. So a heat wave truly, in my book, is coming and about to arrive. It's great to be back with you today, and I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to President-elect David Wagner for filling in for me last week in my absence. Thank you, President-elect David. Your willingness to serve and fill in for me is much appreciated. We're honored to have with us today Coach Bill Blankenship. Coach Blankenship grew up and graduated high school in Spiro, Oklahoma. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Tulsa while playing football for the Golden Hurricane and a master's degree from NSU. Please help me welcome Coach Bill Blankenship.
Hi guys, I hope you can hear me fine, and we'll move on because I'm getting at least one nod. So excited to be with you today. Especially excited to get to introduce our guest. Sherwood Taylor and I have some common history. He grew up in Ada. I grew up in Spiro, a little small town football. We continued to chase our football careers into college and became acquainted. We're about the same age, same class. He certainly was at Oklahoma and achieving at a higher level than I did at Tulsa, but we became dear friends through FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and that continued through our years. The other thing Sherwood and I share in common is that we really outkicked our coverage when we got married. He found Julie, or Julie found him, and they are a great pair. They have been embedded in Norman for years and years and years. They have 4 great children that also allowed us to kind of let our paths intertwine. Zach wound up playing at the University of Nebraska, and our youngest son, Adam, was there at the same time. And so we were 2 Okie families that would drive into Lincoln on a regular basis to follow our kids, and continued that friendship. Later on, their younger son, Press, and I would work together at the University of Tulsa. They have 2 fabulous daughters, and no offense to Quincy, but even though they have these star NFL players in their family, the rock star of the family is certainly Katherine. And I think that they would all tell you that. It is a privilege to talk to you about Sherwood and Julie Taylor. As Press reminded me, Julie was probably on the cutting edge of inclusion with special ed kids with their older sister years and years ago. And so they've, like I said, been embedded in Norman for years. They are givers. I think you're going to be absolutely on the edge of your seats as we get to share with me some time with Sherwood and Julie Taylor.
Okay. Bill, I'll send you a check later on. Thanks for that introduction. It's really a pleasure to be here with you guys today. Both Julie and I are excited to be a part of this. We really don't know why anybody would choose us, but we're willing to brag at our children anytime we get a chance. So we're looking forward to this day to spend time with you here. As Bill said, Julie is my better half by far. And we'll tell you a little bit about how we met, about our 4 children as we go through this next hour. Julie and I met at OU on a blind date, had a terrible time. She luckily, or me luckily, got a second chance along the way, and we got married and started our family about 3 years after that. I was coaching at OU after I got through playing. Then we ended up getting an opportunity to go to Kansas State to coach, which I took. Zach was born in Norman. Katherine was born in Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas. And then when we moved back from there, Press and Quincy were born there in Norman when we moved back. We lived in the same house for 34 years. I don't know if that's good or bad, but we can't move anymore. So we're here for the duration, I guess. A little bit about, you can move that slide. I guess I'm supposed to ask to move the slide to the second one.
No,
the third one. I'm sorry.
No, she's got it right.
Okay, there's a picture of our family so far. We have 7 grandchildren. Go with our 4 children. We're working on the rest. Basically, all of them that have at least 4 apiece. We can have more grandchildren along the way. Or Gigi, as Julia's called. You can move that to the third slide, please. Like Bill said, I went to Ada High, played at OU. I was co-captain with Billy Sims, Darrell Ray, Paul Tabor, and George Kemmery. They were all pro players. I was the token college player on that group. I think they used me for the coin toss. It's about make sure we get it right. I coached defensive backs at K-State. Currently, I have a leather jacket company in Norman where I sell leather jackets to all the high school kids around the state. So we stay active with that and get a chance to see athletes throughout the state for us, and that's always fun. If you can move that to I guess it's the 4th slide.
The next
slide.
Yeah.
Zach, our oldest son, played at Norman High. He went to Wake Forest on a scholarship there, left after 2 years and went to Butler County Community College, where they played the national championship, lost that game, but at least he got to play in it. He went on to Nebraska, was a all-conference player at Nebraska. He got drafted by the Buccaneers and never made it. He ended up going to Canada for a year, which he said was the worst experience of his life. The weather was like this every day of the week. You can see you don't last very long in this weather. He then started coaching when he came back. He started at A&M, Texas A&M. From there, he went to the Dolphins. From there, he's at the University of Cincinnati as offensive coordinator. And then from there, he went to the Rams and eventually ended up, he's the head coach currently of the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's moved a lot. He's got 4 children, and all 4 of them were born in a different state. So you can see he's moved quite a bit into coaching. His wife, Sarah, is the daughter of Mike Sherman. Mike was the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, also was a head coach at Texas A&M. That's where he kind of started his coaching career along those lines. Let's go to the next slide, please. Press, our younger son, has had the most success of anybody in coaching or playing. He played on 2 national junior college championship teams. He was on the Super Bowl team that won with Philadelphia.
As a coach.
As a coach, yes. As a coach, and he was the one who drew up the Philly special, the trick play that they ran in the Super Bowl to help them, where the quarterback handed it off and then caught the pass to win the game or to get the lead till they won the game. He started his coaching career at Tulsa. When he was done playing at Marshall, he called Bill Blankenship and asked him if he could have a job. Bill said, "I can't pay you, but I'll hire you." So Press lived in the basement of one of our friends' houses.
Lane's cousin, Leah Helmrich, was nice enough to put him up.
Yeah, so he lived up there and coached for free for a semester. And then Bill had an opportunity to put him on his staff as a graduate assistant. He was there, and then consequently, he was in Miami visiting with his brother at the Dolphins, and Chip Kelly showed up to see what the Dolphins were doing at that time. He meets Chip. Chip takes the job in Philadelphia and calls Press and says, "Are you interested?" And Press says, "Yes." He goes, "Well, you can't. I don't have time to visit with you. Are you ready or not?" Press says, "Yes." Takes the job and is off on his way in the pros. He's been there ever since. He's been in Philadelphia every year until this year. And then they replaced that staff, and he ended up with Indianapolis now. He's currently offensive coordinator, offensive passing game coordinator there currently now. If You'll move on.
Wait.
Wait.
Brooklyn.
Oh, Brooklyn, his wife, they met at Tulsa. She was a cheerleading sponsor.
She's a Tulsa girl. Brooklyn Shear.
Her father is the pastor of Guts Church there in Tulsa. So she makes a lot of stops back to Tulsa quite a bit. We're lucky enough that they're close enough we can go see them when they're up there. Move on, please. Here's our social chairman of our family, Katherine. She's never lost in swimming. And if she does, I don't want to be there because she's not a very good loser. But Katherine is, as you can see, there's a picture with her over there with Coach Switzer. She says that he's her coach, and he's done a pretty good job with that. He says he's always bragging that he's never lost a game with Special Olympics. So he's been very helpful to us through the years with his efforts that he puts out in the Special Olympics. So Katherine, she's currently an employee at the Average Joe Coffee Shop there in Norman.
Not your average Joe.
Not your average Joe, sorry, not your average Joe. So if you ever get a chance, stop by there and say hi to her. She's always wanting to talk her, she'll talk your leg off, especially if she thinks she knows you, but she knows everybody in the world anyway. So she kind of goes from there. If you want to move on to Quincy. And last but not least, our fourth child, Quincy. She graduated from Norman High. She went to OU. In the last 4 years ago, I think, she took a year mission trip from her job. She went to 11 countries in 11 months as a missionary for that time. You might tell the story of what she said about this.
Quincy, when she told us that she wanted to do this, she had a great job in Dallas. She graduated from OU and had been there a couple of years. And so when she told us that she wanted to do this, we were kind of taken aback. And I said, Quincy, what about your job? When you come back, that job is not going to be available to you. And she said, if I do this for him, he'll take care of me. And Sherwood said, him being me, I'll take care of her. So anyway, it worked out. So I don't think that's what she meant, but.
She ended up with a great job when she got back and is currently the marketing director for a orthopedic supply company in Oklahoma City. So it turned out pretty good for her. What else do we want to talk about?
Lane there's just as you can see, I mean, I didn't know what pictures to pull out, but the top left is Press and Zach. We were fortunate enough to go when they were about 9 and 5, maybe. Some friends of ours coached for the Chicago Bears, so we took them there to one of those games, and that was really fun. That's a picture there. That next picture is Sherwood, Zach, and Press. You tell them about that.
A couple of years ago when...
no, it's been 5 years ago.
Yeah, at least 5 years ago. When the Giants played when the Broncos played the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl, for my Christmas present, they got me the gift of getting to go with them to the Super Bowl. Never knowing in the future that they would actually be coaching in the Super Bowl, we thought this was going to be the time of our life. We ended up getting to do that twice over. So that was a pretty special time when we little did we know that we're going to end up coaching there later on.
The other pictures are just, the picture to the far right was a picture from when Zach was at the Rams and the Eagles played the Rams, which unfortunately that's happened several times that they've had to play each other, which isn't ever fun. But that was a little family picture, and that's Sarah's ex-wife that we like there. The bottom picture was when the Rams beat the Saints in overtime to go to the Super Bowl. That is Sean McVay, the head coach in the middle. You can hardly tell him. That's Zach all the way to the right. That was exciting. And the other picture is just an old family picture. So that's it for the slides. I think Lane just kind of asked us to talk about our family and how it happened that I guess the boys have ended up where they've ended up. I would say, fortunately for us, Sherwood and I both came from really strong, close-knit families, even though we were kind of opposite in that Sherwood's family was a ranch family and my family was in the city, we were still, our families were very similar, very tight knit, strong Christian values. I don't know. I would say our parents really kind of started, and Sherwood's grandparents especially started kind of us all on that path. We both came from kind of big families, and so they always wanted us to have big families. So we did.
When we moved back to Norman from Kansas State, we moved to a street that was a cul-de-sac. There were what we say, 27 kids under the age of 13 lived on that street.
15 houses.
So that was kind of the beginning of a group effort by everyone to help raise our children from that time. In fact, there were Norman High had 5 quarterbacks during that time. All 5 of them lived on our street. So it started with an older one than Zach, 2 older than Zach, and then all the way down to Press. That gave us 5 quarterbacks off that street from Norman High.
So it truly, our street is Cynthia Circle, and oh gosh, they have Cynthia Circle, and this whole Trails neighborhood has raised our children. Really, we're bordered by a highway. Highway 9 goes between our neighborhood and the rest of town, and so none of us would allow our kids to cross Highway 9. So they had to be friends with all the children in this town. I mean, in our neighborhood. And fortunately for Zach, especially, there were like 6 little boys and 1 little girl who were tight. And above them, there were all these older kids who were nice to play with the younger kids and let them play. And then that middle group allowed the kids younger than them to play with them. So they were outside all the time. It was just a safe, and the great thing is a lot of those kids that grew up have moved back to this neighborhood and are raising their kids here. So it's kind of a testament to how really great it was. I'd say we were, if you ask our kids, for sure, really strict. We were really strict with our kids, as were most of the parents that our kids were friends with. And we were really involved in church. They went to camps. They went to Kanakuk. They went to FCA. We had FCA at our house for years until it just got too big and we couldn't do it anymore. We always wanted kids at our house. But the good thing was, in our neighborhood, everybody was kind of like that. So I knew if they were at a neighbor's house, they were okay. Girls too. The girls were the same way. And especially for our Katherine, who I guess you could see by the slide, she has Down syndrome. She's 35 now. She's so safe in this neighborhood. Everybody watched out for her. She could walk, and I would get phone calls. Katherine's in front of my house. Katherine stopped at my house. We always knew where she was. It truly was a village that raised all of our kids.
One of the things that we always made our kids do, they had to play or participate in some activity other than just school. Whether they were in the band, they were in sports, or whatever it was, we asked that they do something beyond just school, participate in something. Luckily for me, they ended up being sports and everything, so it turned out pretty good for me. But all of them played in the band until they were in 8th grade. Both of the boys were afraid they were going to have to march at halftime, so they stopped at that time. But they all had to participate in some extra activity. And
weirdly, none of them chose for that to be a job. I don't know. That was one of the alternatives, and no, they'd rather do something other than that. But and Sherwood always kind of had a deal with the guys in the neighborhood, the other dads. They pretty much coached all the little kids' teams. If it was baseball, which Sherwood really had never played baseball, then the guy down the street was a huge baseball fan. He would coach that. He would be Sherwood's assistant in football, and vice versa. So even for the girls, their soccer team, which we didn't know anything about soccer, but we learned real quick. We always tried to coach their teams. Sherwood even coached Quincy's junior high basketball team, and even was lucky enough to be able to coach her high jump in high school. We didn't really have we had track coaches who were great, but they didn't really have a high jump coach. So they allowed Sherwood to do that. So that was really fun for her.
No. Always if the kids wanted to play catch, I was there always. If it were 5 minutes or an hour, I would always make myself available to play catch or do something with the boys, or even Quincy, just to let them know that they wanted to improve their skills. I was always going to be there to help them do that. And luckily, the junior high coaches let me coach. In junior high, the high school, we pretty much at that time, that's when parents quit helping. So I was able to help the boys in the junior high, both in football and basketball. So that made a difference a little bit because they were taught skills maybe at a younger age than most kids are on that.
Let's see. Well, Lane had asked if we'd had any outside really affirmations, for our kids growing up. One thing, when Katherine was born, as Sherwood mentioned, we lived in Manhattan, Kansas. We didn't have any family. We were shocked. I was 25, I think, when I had her. So we had no thought that we would have a child with a handicap. And so it was pretty shocking, to say the least. But one day, maybe a week after she was born, I got a phone call, and we have weird friends who are always playing jokes. And it was this real deep Southern voice. He said, "Is this Julie?" And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Julie, this is Gene Stallings with the Dallas Cowboys." And I thought, "Oh, Zach." I thought it was one of our friends playing a joke. Fortunately, I didn't say anything. But it was Gene Stallings. And he called to say that he had a son, John Mark, who's now passed away, who had Downs. And he said, "I've heard through the grapevine that y'all have a new baby, and I would just tell you to treat her like you do all your other children. Don't give her any slack. Don't make it any harder for her, but it just, however you treat her is how other people would treat her." We've kind of made that our mantra, and bless her heart, she gets no slack. She really doesn't, but she's pretty sassy, so she's done pretty well. And then the other thing I would say is Josh, running into him.
Josh Heupel was playing quarterback here at OU during, I can't even remember when he was here, but we ran into him in the grocery store, and he and I were visiting about stuff, and Zach was thinking of leaving Wake Forest, and he said, and I asked him, "Where would you go if you were going to leave?" He goes, "Well, I would go to junior college." And that's what he had done personally. He went to junior college and left there, came to OU. So we ended up going to junior college in Kansas and then going to Nebraska. So he gave us some pretty good guidance along those lines that I've never would have thought of before without Josh's help with that. So that's another person that's was pretty influential at the time that we didn't really think about it.
We've just been, we haven't done anything special. We've just, we've had we've been placed in a great spot. We have a very strong faith, I would say, and we've tried to raise our children in that. We've just had so many things, like Sherwood mentioned it, but Bill Blankenship, Bill, you're the reason that press is in coaching. Seriously.
It's your fault.
It's you. You absolutely opened the door for him. And I remember I think he talked to you once and you didn't have anything. And the next time he called you, you said, "Yeah, come see me." And press was at your door the next morning with no money, no nothing. And you took him on, and we will forever be grateful for that. And just not just that, but you were just such a good role model for him and a mentor. And he loved his time with you. So thank you.
I guess we run out of.
Yeah, I mean, Bill.
Are there any questions?
What?
Right here.
I don't know. Oh. If any of you, Becky Switzer, what would you do differently? No, what would you do differently? I don't know that I would have. I don't know. Would you have done anything differently?
No, not really.
Sometimes sometimes I wonder, Sherwood had an opportunity to stay in coaching. When we were let go at K-State, we didn't have any, we came back here to my parents because we didn't know what we were going to do. And he had an opportunity. Jerry Pettibone was at Northern Illinois, and he offered him a job. And we just decided we really wanted to raise our children in Oklahoma around family. And at that time, coaching it was not like it is now. And we just,
in other words, there was no pay.
There was no, yeah, we got a car and a country club membership in Manhattan, and that was about it. But we just, and so I've often wondered, because Sherwood is so good at coaching, I've often kind of felt a little bad about that, because I think I was the driving force behind that decision. Really. But we've also said he was able to coach all of our children. We didn't ever move. I mean, there's a lot of good and bad. So, but I don't honestly think that we would have done that differently.
Root for Nebraska.
Wait, how was Katherine's experience? What'd you say, Bill? Were you going to say?
I'd let you see the messages there.
Yeah.
So you got them. Good.
How was Katherine's experience a character builder for your boys? That's a great question. You know, it's so true how God uses things that you do not think are a good situation, because we were stunned when the doctor told us that Katherine had Downs. We didn't know anything about it. And fortunately, our doctor was young, and he was, don't read anything. Of course, there was no internet. I'll take care of this. And he got us through it, and our family and friends, and it was great. But I have to say, now I'm prejudiced because I'm their mother. I think our other children, Katherine, Zach, Press, and Quincy, are more empathetic to anybody that's different, or in any way, whatever way it is. I think they really seek that out. I know one quick story. I was in Cincinnati when Zach very first got the job, and they had this town meeting. It was, I don't know, they had the ticket holders come and they could ask whatever they wanted. It was a huge thing, a huge meeting. And the next day, I read in the paper that there was a young man with Downs there with his family. I didn't see him or anything, but that Zach saw him, and the guy left, and Zach had his assistant or somebody go find them and bring him back. And he had a few minutes with them. He didn't tell me that. I rode home with him. He didn't tell me that. It just really touched my heart, because I knew he learned that from his sister. So.
And another one says, how hard was it to root for Nebraska?
No.
As Bill knows, it wasn't hard at all, because that's who's paying for his schooling. So yes. And we love Nebraska. We know what Nebraska was like. The tradition that they had was like OU. So for me, that was a great experience to get to play for a rival of my alma mater. But Nebraska, you know, there's 80,000 people every week there. So it was no problem at all to be there to watch him play.
The nicest people we never had one bad word, and we lost some tough games. They were the kindest people. Did you find that too, Bill, with Adam? It was great. Lane wants to know, yes, Lane, Coach Switzer was the honorary, for years, the honorary Special Olympics coach. And so he didn't do anything. He would just come and talk to the kids. And it was as if the heavens had parted when he came. They love him so much. But Katherine really does think that he is her coach. They love each other. They have a very special bond, and he's very good to her.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm missing any questions.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can.
I ask you, did the boys welcome you to coach them after they went to the pros? Or did you fall back and not make suggestions?
I knew better than not make any suggestions, because they're a lot smarter than I am, and they know a lot more about football than I ever knew. we didn't even have computers and things like that. We had 8mm tape that you stuck on the wall to try to splice it together, where press can pull up about any play that's been running the last year. You can pull it up. So I don't give them many options. I ask them questions and they just kind of look at me like, Dad, you're kind of behind the times there. So.
But it's not that way, I understand, with Katherine, who does give her brothers major suggestions.
Oh, she has 3 plays that every game they have to run: trash can, quarterback sneak,
Z streak,
and Z streak, or 3
Yes.
plays. Now, I don't know what they mean, but she
Yes.
does, and she tells them they have to run that play every game. So.
I do have a funny story about Katherine. When, I don't know who it is, I guess it's just OU here, the athletic department, they do a thing every fall, right before the season starts, where they have a group of Special Olympians are able to come over and watch practice and get to meet the players. You know, they sign a football or whatever. It's very brief. Katherine's done that for years. So she knows all the players. They all know her. She takes pictures. Kenny Stills was at OU for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years. I don't know how long. But anyway, he saw her every year. One time we were at, I can't even remember.
He was playing for the Saints.
He was playing for the Saints, and we were at
the Dolphins.
We were at the Dolphins, and we were outside. No, he must have been playing for one of the boys because he came out of their locker room.
Oh,
I think he was playing for Zach at some team. Anyway, we were standing outside the locker room with Katherine talking to Zach, and Kenny Stills walks out and sees Katherine, and he was like, wait, I mean, you know, you could see in his eyes, what is this girl from, I see her in Norman. Anyway, it was funny. We had to explain the whole situation. So Katherine gets around. She knows everybody. Yeah.
I understand that Becky Switzer is on this call.
Hi, Becky.
So maybe you have some Coach Switzer stories. We even have a Coach Switzer story from when he spoke to Rotary a couple of years ago. They were going to talk about their work with the dogs, but he was involved in telling many, many football stories until finally Becky stood up at the head table and went. And that was a great, great moment at Rotary. So you have some other stories to tell, I understand.
Gosh, Coach Switzer, he's just so great to her. Well, we had, what I think was the first, you know, how everybody has the drive-by parties now because of the pandemic. Katherine's birthday is March 26th. And I really think I invented that last year because I had the first one that I know of. But anyway, I just sent a bunch of text people, and sure enough, Coach Switzer drives on our cul-de-sac, and, you know, everybody had come. Katherine was so excited, but we had to stop the entire process as he drove down the street and take pictures and all that.
That's right.
He's been great. He's been great. Well, I don't understand that. Zach almost Coach Peyton Manning's story.
Well, he
interviewed with him.
Yeah, they interviewed, but he didn't.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I can't tell. Oh, that's Kevin. It says you almost Coach Peyton Manning's story. He did interview with Denver before he took the Bengals job. I guess that's what you're talking about.
Sherwood and I were in a Bible study together, and it's kind of small. And anyway, we always wait till everybody got there. This particular morning, Sherwood was a little late, and we could hear him talking out in the hall, and he was on the phone. And so, Sherwood, you can pick it up and tell about Zach. You were talking to Zach, and
they were thinking about trading players. Is that one when you're talking about they were thinking about trading players, and Peyton was going to be, Zach was at the Dolphins, I believe, at that time.
Yes.
And they interviewed Peyton Manning, which really didn't last very long, but at least they had a shot at him. So yeah,
Zach
was a rookie. He almost coached Peyton Manning for a short time. So.
Yeah, Zach was a rookie coach, and he was because Zach was going to
get too many players, Kevin, since then. Anything else?
Hey guys, hey Katherine, Sherwood, this is Coach Switzer. Can y'all hear me?
Switzer, how you doing?
Coach.
Katherine's not
she's
here.
Not here.
She would dominate the whole conversation.
Okay. Well, I called in to talk to her. I didn't want to talk to y'all.
Don't give her your phone number. Don't.
She'll wear me out, huh? Hey,
She'll wear you out. Yes, she will.
I've been, Becky and I have been out sliding around in the snow. We just got back, and I'm still sitting in the car. We haven't packed our groceries yet.
Hey,
so we,
Coach.
I just wanted to call in, not miss y'all. Yeah.
Coach, she just started a new job at Not Your Average Joe, which is right by your house. You'll have to swing by.
Okay. I will do that. Not Your Average Joe. How about that?
Yeah, it's right by your house, right down the street.
All right, great. Sherwood, how you doing? You guys still got your beard
things going with you, Coach?
Oh, pretty good. I got rid of my beard. I just didn't. It didn't feel natural after 80 years trying to grow one. I said, "Hey, I'm done without one for that long. I just think I'll finish out the rest of this fourth quarter."
Mine's still a work in progress.
Hey, Julie, you look great.
Oh, well, thank you, Coach.
You really do. You need to be on TV more. I can't say that for Sherwood, but I can
That's right. That's right. Thank you.
The boy. Anyway, it's great to talk to you all. Always
you
do.
Too.
I got on here in time for you to talk about the drive-by that you started, and everyone else in the country started following you. But that's kind of.
We're going to have another one this year, so I'll send you a text.
Super. Yeah, make sure I get that, and I'll come join that.
Okay.
I'll fix up my car here. We'll have. I'll fill it full of dogs. I have a bunch of dogs in it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, take care, Sherwood, Zach, and tell Katherine to hug her for me. Okay.
I'll do it.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, Coach Switzer, for calling. I just want to wrap up by asking you, what's your life like? How has it changed or not changed you to come in contact with so many famous people?
I don't really think of me. Bill Blankenship is about as famous as I know. So,
she asked Zach. She asked Zach that question, or me?
You're the famous one, Coach. Coach is the famous one.
Well, you know, I've been out of the game. People ask me about this player, that player. I've been out of the game for 30 years. You know, these kids hadn't even started playing the game when I was coaching. You know, it's been 6 years ago, we won the Super Bowl in Dallas, and it's hard to believe that. And it's hard for Jerry to believe it too. When I left there, when I told him when I got here, you said there's 500 coaches going to win a Super Bowl with this team. I said, well, I've won one, and now there's 499 out there left. Go get you one. So they haven't got it done yet. But the players aren't the same. That was free agency was coming on. I'll give them that. And that things started changing. Players got older and they got siphoned off to other teams, and the era was pointing down. So, you know, they've had a bad run, but it's still, you know, my favorite team. Take care, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. Let y'all take over. I gotta unload this car. Becky. Bye-bye.
Lane, one thing that I kind of wanted to say that we brushed over a little bit, Brooklyn, that I think would be interesting because y'all are Tulsa. Our daughter-in-law, Brooklyn, who's married to Press, when they were dating, I adored her. She was a Theta, Lane, as well at OU. Yeah. So anyway, I loved Brooklyn, but I was really concerned a little bit because she and her family are so tight, and she's a Tulsa girl, and she'd gone to OU and moved back to Tulsa, and you know, she was just tight. And I thought, I don't know how that's going to work with him coaching because they're going to move everywhere. And I was a little concerned, but anyway, we loved her. We were so excited when they got married. She is all in. When they were leaving, when they left Philly, which has been a month now, she is like, I loved it here. I said, well, are you going to miss your friends here? I'll make new friends. It'll be fine. She's all in. I've never seen a coach's wife more suited to the job. Sarah as well. We're really lucky with Sarah as well. She kind of grew up in that life. I don't think she really meant to jump back into it. As she told me, she thought Zach was going to be a famous quarterback when they got married, not a coach. So anyway, but we've been really fortunate with our kids. And as far as anything being different, nothing's really different except we travel a lot just because our boys are gone and they have the grandkids. So that's where I'm going to be. And so we travel a lot, especially in the fall. You know, we're going to games. But now, one's in Cincy, one's in Indy. They're an hour and a half apart. We could possibly make a 1 o'clock and a 7 o'clock game. No problem. So we're really excited about that.
Well, we'll hope to hear about it when that happens. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us today. You're a great example of a wonderful family, and we appreciate you taking the time.
It was fun. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
And
Coach Blankenship, thank you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Julie and Sherwood, on behalf of everybody here. And if you have any tips for my favorite team, NFL team,
you don't need any
tips. If Katherine has any plays she wants to send, listen to me. Thank you again for joining us today. We appreciate it, and I enjoyed hearing your story. Now for an inspirational moment from Michelle Place. Michelle.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Well, that was a great program. That was a lot of fun. Considering our program last week from PSO and then also with the little rolling power outages that we've had, I've decided that I want to talk a little bit about light today, L-I-G-H-T. So I'm one of those, I love light. I love sunrises. I love sunsets. I like to look at the moon, whether it's waxing or waning. I never can remember which term goes with which one. My faith and my theology also talk a lot about light. But what I most appreciate is when that light bulb clicks on in our minds with a fresh insight, when it illuminates a new perspective, a new way of looking at things. Well, recently I purchased a new vehicle, and while I don't have to have all of the bells and whistles, I do like some amenities. So towards the top of my wish list for this next vehicle, I wanted a hatchback with one of those magic little buttons that you can push and the trunk automatically closes, because it's often that my hands are full and I don't have another hand to shut the thing. Well, this car came with this desired button, and it didn't take long before I had my little hatchback stuffed. And when I got home and opened the trunk, unloaded everything that I had, and when I pushed that magic button to close, guess what? It didn't close all the way. So I looked in there and I could tell that the little shelf that's supposed to hide everything that you have underneath, that was just a little bit off. And so I jiggled it and jiggled it, couldn't get it to work. Went in reluctantly to my engineer husband, brought him out to look at the vehicle. He jiggled it just as I had done and said, I don't know, I can't see anything. Bummer. His next response was, well, you should take it by the dealer and have them look at it. Now, as much as I love car dealers, they just aren't on my regular beaten path. So I had to wait until the next Saturday. The next Saturday comes, I drive myself to the dealer. I go in, talk to two salesmen who are in conversation, tell them what my issue is. They look at one another and say, I've never heard of that happening before, but let's go take a look. And so we went outside. They jiggled it just as I had jiggled it and said, well, I don't know. So I pretty much pushed them out of the way, stuck my head farther into the trunk, and I could immediately see what the problem was. There was a little post and a little rocker, and it had just popped off. I pushed it back in to where it would work, pulled my head out of the trunk, looked at the salesman, and pushed the button, and it closed automatically. And they said, well, you're welcome, and there'll be no charge for that. Thank you very much. So As I drove away, I began to think about what the problem needed was just a little more light shed on the subject. And then I thought, isn't that what we do as Rotarians? Aren't we called just to shed a little more light into some dark corners? And doesn't that light bulb just go off as we combine our collective vision, our ingenuity, and our tenacity as we work together to bring light into dark corners of our local community and beyond? I love light. Have a good day.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that inspirational moment. Great job. And that is what Rotary is trying to do. We're trying to put our collective efforts together to make a larger impact than we can make individually. Now for our Sarge time, Sarge Carl Vincent. If you're on, I'll turn it over to you.
President Paul, holy cow, have you been outside lately? It's cold out there.
Unfortunately, I have.
Yeah, I tell you what, I appreciated what Michelle had to say today because, you know, she went to that car dealer and she fixed her car herself and they didn't charge her. The car dealers I work with, you take it there, you fix it yourself, and they still charge you a $159 service fee. So I want to know who Michelle's car dealer is. But it is Sarge time, President Paul. We're going to get you to play a little bit of Who Wants to Be a Rotarian? I will need you to answer a couple of questions to the best of your ability. I know you're in banking. None of these questions involve math, unfortunately, but I know you'll do a fine job. So President Paul, our first question involves Jeff Johnson. You know Jeff Johnson. Do you think, how long do you think he's been a member, President Paul? Has he been a member since 1923? Almost 100 years. Since 1943? Since 1983? Or since 1993? Give it your best guess, President Paul, and whatever you do, pick C.
I was going to pick C. They taught me in school, if you don't know the answer, to pick C. So that's the one I was going to go with.
Well, and I think that's right, President. That's wise selection on your part. I understand now why you're the president of our club. Yeah, Jeff Johnson, who has been a member for a long time, gave us $107. He did that for his birthday and for his anniversary. He's been married for 40 years. And it's not his 107th birthday, but you see the meme on the lower left there, birthday, you mean a new personal record for the number of days lived. I thought that was pretty appropriate. So Jeff Johnson, thank you so much. And just for everyone's sake, Jeff Johnson is going to be joining me on the programs committee for next year. And I'm hoping to convince Lane Dolly to do that too. But President Paul, since you got the right answer there, we're going to go to our next Who Wants to Be a Rotarian question. This is a hard one, President Paul. On which Rotary committee is Chuck Wilson not on? Now, keep in mind, President Paul, as you think that it's this question, this is not to give Chuck another award. This is to talk about a committee he's not on at this time. Okay, so we have membership retention, the past president's committee, new members committee, D, the programs committee, and President Paul, you cannot phone a friend, that friend being Chuck Wilson.
I think it's D, programs. Final answer.
Oh, President Paul, I'm not sure about that one. I think it's member retention. But I'm not sure.
I missed that one.
Yeah, that's okay. But we're still going to be your friend. And Chuck gave us $100 for his birthday. And what does a clam do on their birthday? They celebrate. So we are celebrating with you, President Chuck. And then that bottom right meme, every day I'm shoveling, is more appropriate than you know. I manage Cityplex Towers, 2.2 million square feet with a hospital. I can tell you my guys have been doing a lot of shoveling. So we have one more thing, President Paul, today that's kind of special. You know, our club has a president-elect. Did you know we have a president-elect, Paul? That president-elect is Jerry Barrientos. Jerry Barrientos called me this morning with a great idea. She said, Carl, I'm willing to pay a fine of $10 for every call one of our Rotarians makes to another Rotarian just to show they care anytime today between the time of this meeting and 6 p.m. So if any of you who are on this call or any Rotary members who got the email from Bree earlier will pick up the phone and call another Rotarian and just say, hey, how you doing? Wanted to make sure you know that the Rotary Club is still out here. See if you enjoyed the program today. Hope you can participate in the program next week. She'll pay a fine of $10 and there's no cap on it, which kind of tells us Jerry's probably doing pretty good in the financial consulting business. And if anyone would care to join her and matching her contribution, we'd love that as well. So hopefully you've received the email and you'll be able to make a phone call today to let Jerry make a great contribution to the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation. And I think, President Paul, that's our charge time for today. I'll add one last thing. I am looking for fellow program committee members, so let me know if you're interested.
Thank you, Sarge. Appreciate your work. And thank you to all your people that paid fines, or Rotarians that paid fines. Generous to be sure. Thank you so much. Announcements today, we want a special thanks to our weekly sponsors, Bank First, Paul Baumann, Gordon Greer, Bill Miller, Monty Curry, J.D. Young, Doug Stewart, Trust Company of Oklahoma, Michael Harrison, Associated Mortgage Corporation, Chuck Wilson, and save the date for Thursday, February 25th, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. for our Zoom happy hour, cocktails and conversation. A Zoom link will be posted in Monday message, and we hope to see you there. I unfortunately will not be able to make that night because I have my father-daughter banquet that night, and I will be there with my daughter. So hope everybody else has an enjoyable time at that meeting though. Our next Rotary meeting will be at noon on Wednesday, March 3rd. Our speaker will be Bazel Baz, President of the Association for Recovery of Children, an organization he founded and directs through offices in Los Angeles with a network of 150 affiliates and operators worldwide. After I adjourn our meeting today, we're going to offer breakout rooms for 10 minutes for those who'd like to stay on and visit with fellow Rotarians. I encourage each of you to take advantage of this opportunity to visit with members of our club you may know or you may not have ever met yet. I do want to thank you for joining our meeting today. And as you go about your business this week, be sure to recount our 4-way test for Rotary. Of the things we think, say, or do, 1, is it the truth? 2, is it fair to all concerned? 3, will it build better friendships and goodwill? And 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Our 4-way test is a high standard to be sure, but one worthy of always keeping in remembrance and striving for. And with that, I'll say for today's meeting, we're adjourned.